Are you able to produce some decent drawings, but they all look like they are done by different artists? Would you like to finally elaborate a drawing style of your own? Then you're in the right place. My name is Dr. Rocker, and today I will give you the answer to these questions. And I will talk about a lot of things you should consider when trying to find your own style. So make sure to watch this video till the end for getting all the tips and tricks you need to develop your own style. Let's go! Before thinking of your own style, you need to master the basics. With comic book drawings, that means to know the human figure. Practicing gesture drawings and studying anatomy is crucial to achieve that. For more information on this subject, go and watch the video in the corner. But not only should you be able to draw a hero standing there, you should also focus on dynamic poses to deepen your knowledge. Even if you just want to draw pin-ups. Once you feel comfortable to lay down a correct drawing of the basics, you can start concentrating on the style you want to achieve. And therefore you have to consider as follows. What do I want to achieve with my art? Do you just want to draw your favorite heroes in cool poses to put on your wall? In this case, you might be cool with trying to recreate the drawings of your favorite artists. You will also learn a lot from these experiences. But do you want to do pages, make your characters move, interact, tell a story and do your own thing? Then you should dive deeper into the style finding subject. Therefore, the most important rule would be not to focus on just one artist. Studying other artists is definitely the way to go, since, at least in comics, they are the best source to show you how it's done, and we can all benefit from their years of experience. But if you are only focusing on one artist, your style will eventually look like your sole influence, and that might not be what you are looking for. Which means you have to analyze your most beloved artists and pick out what you like the most. And also, you will have to keep in mind that there are some techniques that will flow from your hand and some you will have a lot of trouble to learn. So it might be better to play to your strength than fighting a technique you might not master as easily. A good example for that would be your hand control for long lines. If that is something you have trouble with, you could avoid that with doing more strong blacks and shorter hatching lines. Okay, so we know we should love the art style we want to achieve. And we need to be able to learn it without killing ourselves. But that is not all we have to consider. Because if you want to make a name for yourself, you also need to take a look on what's hot at the moment. What sells? What are editors and writers looking for? Don't get me wrong, the most important part should always be what do I love the most. But with some choices, you will be able to find different stuff from different artists you will also like. And if so, choose the one you think will benefit you the most in terms of popularity. For example, Jorge Jimenez and Sean Murphy are some of the most popular artists at the moment. And rightly so, their pictures are very pleasant to look at and they both understand how to tell a story. Their styles show a lot of similarities and look very modern. Lots of manga elements and not just hatching lines, but also rendering with arty brush strokes mixed with band-aid dots for a cool retro look. So does that mean we all need to draw in such a modern way now to be able to get published at some point? No, and I will prove that to you in a second. But what I think you need to do nowadays is to provide inks, not just pencils. That is very important, I think, cause that's what most artists are offering these days. I really think if you are just penciling, you will have a huge disadvantage. Lots of artists are working digitally, which makes that easier. But also for traditional artists, this might be a must-do already. Cause this is one guy less that needs to be waited on and one guy less that needs to be paid. But you can draw old school and still get out there. Take a look at Jason Fabok. To me, he's a mixture of mainly David Finch and Jim Lee. I'm sure he will have way more influences than that. But take a look. Jim Lee's body structure rendered in the style of David Finch. And it looks amazing. And old school. Still one of the best-selling comic book artists out there. Also something you need to think about is, will my book be colored? Will I color it myself? Or will I go with a black and white style to save me the troubles of relying on somebody else? Maybe just create values in gray. And since printing and digital coloring have improved so much over the last years, we can go nuts with style choices and bring in more mixed media elements than ever. If you like soft pencil shadings, for example, you can draw like this and then it can still be colored digitally. No problem whatsoever. So be daring and try out whatever you like or just happen to have in your skill set. It might lead to a great result. Okay, having said all of this, I invite you to my personal journey now. I'm a sucker for David Fincher's art. He has such a great way of combining all his influences into a fantastic style. It blows my mind. Especially when he's doing pin-ups. And I learned a lot from him, which made my personal handwriting quite similar to his. But I cannot just be a rip-off of someone else. First of all, it's his style, which I deeply respect. And I want to have my own thing going on. Luckily, there are also a lot of other artists I really like. Ariel Olivetti is such a cool artist when it comes to body structure. His bulky figures have been one of my inspirations for my Super Badass series and are still on the back of my mind in many situations when drawing characters. Greg Capullo is the master of storytelling. His books are so great. Also his hands. I love how he draws hands. Jim Lee's dynamic figures are out of the world. Also always a big influence for me. And his faces. They come more easy to me than most of the other artists. Although I want to go in a bit of a manga influence direction like Sean Murphy with my heads, but these also have some similarities to Jim Lee's work, like the big chins for example. From anime characters like Son Goku, I took some style elements like the jagged forms from the torso and the hands. But one of my absolute biggest influence besides David Finch is Mark Silvestri. Especially his latest stuff, which unfortunately is some years old already. The many lines he uses bring so much life in the drawings, you would think the characters move. And that's amazing, especially in comic books. These many lines have also been used in lots of studies from the old masters of art, like Albrecht Dürer, who was one of my early influences I learned in my classical art education. Shading with lines. I love it. It's fun to draw like that, flows from my hand, and with less strong blacks, the drawings in complicated scenes are a bit easier to read. And they can look nicer when colored. That's a very important thing about strong blacks. If they are too dominant, the finished piece in full color can suffer when there is not enough room for the colors. Too much hatching can do the same kind of damage. Often, the best looking pieces in the comic book world have just little to no hatching lines and live off the colors. But I personally like the cool look of great inks. And I'm not a colorist, so I will stick to my lines. Having considered all of this, there is a great way to try out different style choices. Like I did here, you pick an easy pose you can draw quite fast. And then you draw it in the styles you want to pick your pieces from. I did quite some research lately. You might have seen some of it on my Instagram account, where I share most of the stuff I draw. Link in description, by the way. To keep it interesting and more fun, I drew different characters for these, but you can also stick to one character. This way it would even be easier to notice the differences. This Conan here is just line work. Would look cool when colored really good, but just too boring in inks for my taste. With this Hulk I even tried a different paper with more teeth, coming close to my imagined look. So I tried it again quite similar with this Wolverine, but on my usual Strathmore 200 Bristol board. For this Red Hood drawing I mostly used my 2B pencil for the rendering lines. I love to render with pencil, great flow of the lines and better shading effects. But smudging could be a big problem when doing whole pages like that. With this character, which could be a mean-looking Punisher, I wanted to see how these lines of mine work when being less dominant, more lightning in the picture. And I mixed some pencil hatching lines in there as well. The same I did on this Superman, including more strong blacks, which makes it easier to introduce more light sources in your drawings. Getting to a result I like and want to pursue, I wanted to try all this knowledge on a more detailed character like this Captain America. See if these lines and crazy muscle fibers work on a costume like that. Satisfied, I wanted to draw my all-time favorite character to draw, the Batman. Using many crazy fibers, little strong blacks and lots of lines. That is the foundation of the style I call my own, and I will work more in this direction. The next thing I wanted to test is, how is this way of drawing working in an actual comic book where you have to draw way smaller a lot of times. So I drew this Moon Knight to see how it works. Many thin lines, I even used a 003 fine liner from Micron here. But I think it worked. And how does it work more action orientated? Sticking to Captain America, I tried some action poses. Small and big. Also tried some gray values on one of the drawings, very quickly done on the iPad. And to see how this would look like when colored afterwards, I went ahead and used some red on the captain. Works great, but it's also quite some extra work. I just did that recently, so maybe I will fool around with the idea to combine these line drawings with some quick shadings on the iPad a bit further and use less lines so the time it takes to produce a drawing like that won't take ages. Cause when doing pages, this is something you need to consider strongly. Time is of the essence.
The doctor did that before editing the video, and it worked!
I also used the drawings from my gesture drawing practice videos to try out these new techniques, also mixing pencil hatching lines in there. And I did some pencil and Copic marker mixed media drawings of the Batman to find out where I want my focus to be. I even rendered a whole drawing with soft pencil shadings and then colored it with Copic markers. But the most fun I still have with all my millions of lines. So I did another piece just for fun and to see how the characters in my style would look like when drawn big, small and almost tiny even. Works out pretty cool and should look dope when colored. Let me know what you think about this stuff. Your opinion means the world to me. Okay, summing up. You should pick everything you like from as many artists as you can find and think of. Combine it and bring in some ideas of your own. Draw in different styles and see what flows from your hand easiest. And this is very important to keep you motivated, even when you redraw something from another artist, you will have your own handwriting in the drawing, if you want to or not. So don't despair. Finding your own style will work, and it might be easier than you think. And it will develop and even change through your whole career of drawing stuff. So be patient with yourself. Oh, and draw a lot. That always helps. Okay, my friends, I think that's all you need to know. Have fun drawing and working on these basics we were talking about earlier. And to make sure these work properly, I want you to check out this video now. You will learn a lot about these basics and also some neat rendering techniques. And it's my best going video, so it must have some value, I guess. So, have a great day, see you there my friends, thank you for watching, subscribe if you're new, and leave a like and all of that. I love you.